Welcome to lesson 100, multiplying with multi-digit decimal numbers. Today's objective is basically, can you multiply decimal numbers by tens, hundreds, and thousands? And in fact, that's a very easy thing to do because there's a little trick that goes along with it. However, without knowing the trick, you can still just multiply these numbers the same way we did in lesson 98 and 99. So let's practice that with the first one, and I want you to see that there's a pattern. 1 in 456 thousandths times 10. If you were to multiply this, you could place the 10 underneath and recognize that 10 has a 1 and a 0. And the 1 is a counting number. So you could put the 1 on the very end and stick the 0 off the edge. And you're multiplying 1 times all those numbers, so it's very easy. 1 times 6, 1 times 5, 1 times 4, and 1 times 1. And if there's 1 0 on the outside, you need to place 1 0 on the end of your number. Now for the decimal, recall that if there are 1, 2, 3 hops, to place the decimal up at the top, you need to do 1, 2, 3 hops as well. Or think of it as there's 3 numbers to the right of the decimal. I must have 3 numbers to the right of my decimal. Now what has happened to my number? My decimal, my number was 1456. My number is still 1456 with a 0 on the end. If it's a decimal on the end, the 0 doesn't matter. Okay, remember we did that in a previous lesson where we attacked the zeros from both sides. So I had 1456. I still have 1456. The only change? The decimal was in front of the 4, now it's after the 4. How many times did it move? It only moved once. How many zeros did I multiply it by? 1. And that's the pattern. If you multiply by a 10, there's 1 0 on a 10, your decimal will move to the right 1 spot, making it bigger, right? This was 1.4. Now it's 14. Because when you multiply by 10, numbers get bigger, right? If you have 14 and you multiply it times 10, you get 140. Actually, it's like a 14 with a 0. 14.0. If you multiply 14 times 10, you get 140. Your decimal actually just moved one place to the right, even though you typically don't write 14.0, you just think of it as 14. So that is the trick. Here's the same number, but multiplied by 100. How many zeros? 2. 1, 2. Therefore, your decimal will move over 2 times. 1, 2. So my new number is 145.6. And on the last one, I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So my decimal is going to move over 1, 2, 3 times, giving me 1,456.0. And that's not necessary because it's a whole number, so you can just leave it as 1,456. So anytime you multiply a decimal number by a 10, 100, or 1,000, or 10,000, the pattern goes on and on, count the zeros, and that's how many times you will move the decimal over to the right to make the number bigger, because you're multiplying it times a big whole number. All right, if you have any questions on that, let me know, and I'd be glad to help. Thanks.